wonderful doing this play, especially with the cast that I have. You know, all the performers are friends of mine and some new friends, and the energy level they give me is so phenomenal, because on the weekends we do 2 shows on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and come that Sunday night show, the kids, when we do How You Jazz, they say, oh, come on, Maurice, you can do this show. They have to talk to me under their breath.
They have to bolster you, huh?
Well, they have to,
Yeah.
because I'm tired.
You know, I couldn't help but think in seeing the show that Jelly Roll Morton's adventurous style on the piano is very symbolic of his life in a way. A very adventurous
no one's
character.
ever said that. That's very true. It's very true. Once you get really into the music, and since he was and is considered an innovator, he was sort of like exploring new ground as a person too. And I think, at least in George Wolfe's vision, who was the writer-director.
Storyville has such negative connotations, and yet he played in Storyville, the Bawdy Houses, and yet he never developed that hard, honky-tonk style. He kept the classical.
Well,
really
that was his
edge to it.
training. In the play it says he was trained by he was classically trained by the finest musicians, is the line. And so he was. So when your bass is that, he brought a new structure to it because of the bass, you know. And I think to be creative, you have to take from so many other influences that you may have or come across, or that teaches you.
He's also credited with really making the transition from ragtime to jazz, and being attributed really with the influential person that did that. And he kind of took Joplin and he swung it away, and with the syncopation, I couldn't help but liken that in his music to tap and what you do in terms of syncopation.
Yeah, because tap is basically rhythm. Yes. And time. Mm-hmm. Especially a stop time and different configurations. Combination-wise as a dancer. Yes, and I think that's why it works so well as a metaphor for his style, yeah.
And I remember his Red Hot Peppers, his group that he had for a while, and how when he went in to record, he recorded rhythmically beautiful things that no one ever matched again, really, in so many ways. And in essence, what you and Savion do with tap, no one else does.
Well, you know, I really don't feel that. I feel that what we do is really an extension of all the great tap dancers that came before us. I mean, my style has always been to be like Fayard Nicholas of the Nicholas Brothers, who came to see the show in Pasadena, by the way, which I didn't know he was in the audience. Had I known, I'd have been frozen with fear, because he's my idol. The Nicholas Brothers were our idols, Gregory and mine, and among others, Teddy Hale. But we will never be as great as John Bubbles and those people. They were geniuses, is what they were. And so what we are is an extension of their abilities, and us learning from them. Since I did work with John Bubbles, and I do know the Nicholas Brothers, and whenever they're around, Fayard will do something with his hands. We took a picture, and of course I die. You know, it's fabulous.
But when you work with Henry Latang as a very young man,
oh, yes.
He recognized things in you he'd never seen before, and he had to, in a way, he had to choreograph new pieces to give you new horizons to work with.
Well, I think that's so. In fact, I recently, about a year ago, I asked Henry, I said, Henry, what did you, because he had a very big school on 44th Street. He had like 500 students, kids. I mean, he was really a star. And that was in the early 50s. And I said, what did Gregory and I have? Why all, he said, well, it would happen in one particular class. And it was a big class. I gave this big combination. All of a sudden, I realized that everybody around you and the whole class of about 80 students stopped and were watching you and Gregory. I said, there it is. That's like the Nicholas Brothers. There it is. That's that charisma. It's got nothing to do with talent. There are a lot of talented dancers. But you and your brother had something. And when other dancers stop to look at you, and you're all doing the same step, it's called charisma. At that time, they didn't call it it or the thing or whatever. So I think that's what Henry saw in us, and we were able to do adult steps. See, we never did kiddie steps. He saw that we could do big steps like the Nicholas Brothers, although we were never as great as they were. And so he gave us hard things to do. And what he would do is very funny. He would give us a hard step and leave us in the room for an hour. And all I remember were tears on the floor. I remember I would cry because I never got things fast. I remembered them forever.
You don't get things fast?
No. I choreographed fast, but I never could learn fast. My brother was always faster, but then he would forget them. So that's how we helped each other. He would forget it. He would teach it to me, I'd remember, and when he forgot it, I'd show him. So that's really how we worked. But I remember tears on the floor. I would cry, but I never stopped doing it. I'd cry, but I kept dancing. That was the trick.
I first saw you in Heinz, Heinz and Dad on television as a young man.
Yes.
And that was a very special thing.
It was, because we worked with our father, and it was the beginning. I always credit Johnny Carson because we did about 34 of his shows the last 5 years he was in New York, and it made us. The only two, I think, minority acts that were on there were us and Diane Carroll, and we were on every other week. And we were funny, and we were a family, we were real. Johnny likes real people to say real things. You know, if you notice, he's not good at making up stuff, but when you're real with him, he can play off the realness, and that was his genius. And we were always very real. I still am to this day, which doesn't get me a lot of TV, because I don't like that realness in me.
You were telling me just before the interview how much you enjoy doing Jelly's Last Jam in certain cities. And I had made the comment that, you know, a lot of it could be that you've been so true to some of the greats. I mean, of course, you were a big star in UB, and now in Jelly's Last Jam, you're bringing Jelly Roll Morton to the front. And so in many ways, you've helped to bring back a lot of our American legacy and put it before us.
Well, I enjoy doing that. I see, because I did do Sophisticated Ladies and Uptown is Hot and Harlem Suite, and then they were always celebratory to my culture and the great artists that I'd known. And my grandmother was a Cotton Club showgirl, so we knew a lot about Ethel Waters, and we knew about Lena Horne was in the line with her at 17. So we knew all that stuff. Later in life, she didn't talk about it when we were young. But it's a joy to me to do it. First of all, it's not going to be done unless it's on the road, because let's face it, Broadway is so full of racism. I mean, they can't even control it themselves, and they make it very obvious now, with the exception of the flawlessly talented Vanessa Williams in Kiss of the Spider Woman. We're not represented on Broadway, and certainly not our perspective about theater, which is very obvious and certainly not unexpected as far as the Broadway producers are concerned. And we're the only ones on the road, which I like. I like being on the road more than Broadway because I like going to the people.
Well, you're getting the message out there.
Yes, and I love new cities. Plus, the Broadway producers charging $75 a ticket is embarrassing. You're raping the public, and they should know better. And they exclude people. And when you exclude people, that's not what theater was about. Theater is encompassing.
I'm gonna wear ostrich plumes and satin, a hot hair with 3 feet high. So all you gumbo eating bitches can kiss my ass goodbye. 'Cause Mississippi water.
You also said that it was important insofar as Jelly's Last Jam that the audience leave with some sort of an uplifted feeling.
Yes, having had a good time. Yes.
I like the structure of this piece, and maybe that contributes to it. Of course, you've infused a lot of wonderful energy into it with your tap, but it's kind of a flashback technique, very similar to, in essence, Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol.
Yes, yes, because he does turn out to be kind of a mean-spirited man in George Wolfe's vision. Now, I say that because there are a lot of historians that say he wasn't like that. But George is the writer, and George is the director, and I didn't want to bring their vision to his vision because I wasn't there to do his. But I wanted them to know that my approach to Jelly would be different. I hadn't seen any of the other Jellies, and I just read the script. My mother had, and she came to see it in Coast Maze, and she's so honest, always was, and now at 77, she's brutal. You know, when they got older, they're more vicious. So she loved the fact that I cry earlier, and then she said, I like, you know, of course she loved my brother's performance too, but she said there's something that you bring, a torment to the man, which he must have felt, even though in this he's so mean, but when he's alone with himself, as you appear to be in Creole Boy, when he says he's wrong, she said, you've evolved into a scream, which I do, and I like that. And she's going to come see it again. She wouldn't see it more than once in New York, but she's going to come see it in San Francisco.
We went into George Wolfe and Susan Birkenhead and I, who were the creators of this, to what we would for was, I guess it's the unauthorized biography of Jelly Roll. But the fact is that we had to go into the reasons for his existence, and let the music, the drama, or whatever is there, have that to say. Let this be our our message, our message. Just let us. This is something we can express, and there may be other people who would like to do that. I mentioned Wynton Marsalis because I happened to see what I thought was a wonderful piece the other day with Hagen, but I'm sure that there are others there are, and they're not. We're not limited to black composers either. It could be any American person who is willing to delve into the heritages, plural heritages that we have.
Well, think of Jelly's last jam and the kinds of conflicts that were probably going on in Jelly Roll Morton's life. With you had ragtime, where he was on the precipice of that. You had the emergence of jazz, and everybody heading in different directions. What's right? What's wrong?
He kind of did this too, because he's trying to bring Massenet and Sidney Bechet together. You know, this is already a
very difficult time to decide where the musical milieu was to ultimately end up. And then congratulations too on Ain't Misbehavin', one of the great pieces
that has that's been a while, right?
In recent years.
Yeah, it's still around.
It had quite a life, didn't it?
Yes, it's still going around.
Yeah,
Thank goodness, knock on wood.
You've written some incredible music for Broadway.
Well, I've been very lucky like that. I really have had some wonderful opportunities, and I've just done the best I could to take advantage of them. Yes, I have to say that I think that the happenstances in my life are most unusual, most fortuitous. The fact that I can you know, draw the path of my best by talking to names like, you know, from Ellington to Lena Horne to you know, now on the other side, you know, the Castellanos and Richard Rogers and people like this, all through my life. That this is one thing. It's been one thing, you know, and I call it happenstance. I'm not trying to minimize. I think that I'm pretty talented too. That's not the point. I'm sure there's other talented people that haven't had these things to happen in these circumstances, and so I also feel that I'm very blessed to have had that, and it's high time I did something about it, which I'm doing now.
I remember. See, most people don't remember the first time I saw Luther Henderson's name was he had done the music for the Helen Morgan story on Playhouse 90 for Polly Bergen, and I bought the album. I loved the way Polly sang, and I remember see Playhouse 90. I remember seeing the whole thing. She was fabulous.
That was just a couple years ago, you know.
Yeah, right. And Luther's music attracted me then, and this is my first time working with him. I've known him years, close. I kiss him and hug him up. I love, but he's a genius. And though when you're around geniuses, true genius, not the word, he's got a lifetime of work to prove he is, you get something from them. And what they do, here's what they do. He said, Maurice, anything that he told George Wolfe, he said, you're lucky to have Maurice Hines, because George didn't know my work.
Good for him.
And he said, you're lucky. So he came to me at rehearsal. Anything you want changed, you can change the whole structure. Because first of all, you're a great choreographer, I'm not even concerned. I said, no, I would never touch your structure. I'll work around you. That's what you get. That's the kind of giving. And I'll tell this quick story. We were working with Ella Fitzgerald in Las Vegas, and my manager knew she was doing Georgia Brown, which was a big number for Gregory and I at the time. We had done it on the Carson show. And of course, you defer to the star. Ella is, of course, one of the great people of life, always will be, not only as a great artist, but the great Ella Fitzgerald as a person. So my manager, Stanley Kay, went to her and said, you know, we're doing Sweet. She said, oh, I'll take mine out. You do Sweet Georgia Brown. Because Ella, as everyone says, can sing the telephone book and make it fierce. So, you know, and we worked with her 3 times, one of the great ladies, and that's what greats do. No insecurities, they do what they do. So she took it out and allowed us to do it. And we would have taken ours out. That's Ella Fitzgerald, you know. But Stanley went to her as a professional. She said, mine's gone, put in this, grab that quick. That's when Luthers and the Ellas and the Dukes and the Count Basies and those people, that's what they were about. There were no insecurities, really.
Speaking of the musical genius of Luther, when you look at Jelly's Last Jam, music by Jelly Roll Morton and Luther Henderson, it's all so seamless.
Well, he's a genius.
Yeah.
That's what geniuses do. They're able to take, and because musicians to me are very collaborative, you know, I mean, they work together. They like to play together. So even though Jelly wasn't here physically, musically he was. And Luther has the greatest respect for that. But also Luther has the greatest respect for his work too. So he's able to do it seamlessly, but that's greatness.
You know, I can't help but think that you are, in a way, a mentor with Savion Glover. And of course, he's kind of like a Hines family adoptee in a way.
Well, I'm not really a mentor for him because I think he really is also borders on genius. He's very young, but there's no doubt about it, you know, having danced with him now. Our styles are very different. He dances really closer to my brother's style. But my style is very different, so it took a little while for us to mesh, and we decided to we choreographed all the tap, but we choreographed it together. I wanted it to be his style, so I adapted to him. And now we're just having the best time on stage. I talk to him all the time, under my breath to him, and he's just a delight. Just a delight. And I guess Linda, our conductor, because it took a while, it took about 2 months for us to really get that thing, that connection, which you have to have, playing each other. We're playing each other.
That's
and
right.
now we have it, and the audience responds to it, and we respond to it. And I look forward so much to dancing with him.
Is tap boundless? I mean, is it boundless?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. First of all, it's one of the hardest techniques to learn because in the other dance forms, if you should look away or something and the dancer makes a mistake, you don't know it. But in tap, you can hear it as well as see it. So the margin for error is nil. Is nil. Now, certainly we can cover up a mistake if you're a good improvisationalist, but that's a technique in itself. The great improvisationalists can do anything they want, but not everybody is that. So if you make a mistake, you're going to hear it. You got to look up. Oh, what happened there? Yeah. So tap is the ultimate as far as I'm concerned.
I get the feeling that there's tap as dance, and then there's the other level of tap. There's tap as conversation.
Oh, very good, very interesting. Yes, when you do, in the beginning of this, when Xavier and I take 4s or take 8s, I forget what it is, we're having a conversation. I'm really giving him, and if you notice, we've evolved into, I start off first and I give him a simple beat, a simple thing, and then he, as young Jelly, increases the combination so that it's more interesting. And then I go along with him. It's like trading. It's a conversation. Oh, there's no doubt about it. You're very bright to say that. Very few people know that.
Well, I'm a tapper, but I've never gotten beyond the dance part of it.
I thought I heard something from them feet. Little sparks coming out.
4 years of that. I mean, it'll keep you healthy, that's for
Yes,
sure.
it does.
Yeah. You've really brought forth some of these great characters onto the stage and tied in tap so nicely in many cases. Is there another that you'd like to portray?
Another person?
Yes, another person.
I've always wanted, you're the only person that's asked me this, I've always wanted to play Cab Calloway.
Oh,
always.
And you would be a great Cab Calloway.
Great, I'd be spectacular.
You'd be more than spectacular, you'd be incredible.
I'd be incredible because, first of all, I look a little like him, and I can sing like him. I love and he's over the top, which I am as an actor. Yes. It's like, it would be a joy. And I almost did it. Lou Gossett had the rights to do a TV movie, and it was gotten down to me, and I think the guy who was, Darnell, he was with, I can't remember, but he looks like him too, but a younger version of him. But he didn't sing like him. So I had a little edge there. And Cab always considered himself a dancer too, you know, I mean a real dancer. Since I am a real dancer, I had the edge. And I would love to play him. That would be the last thing I would do, because I don't want to put tap in it because he was not a tap. He did some tap steps, but just to be in front of a big band and to do that, you know, I would love it. I would love it. He was very wonderful to me and my brother when we did the Cotton Club Review with him in Miami. Through the years, he came to see Uptown is Hot in New York. He's Cab Calloway. What more can you say?
And if my memory serves me correctly, wasn't he in Cotton Club, the movie you did?
No, Larry Marshall
Was it
played
Larry
him.
Marshall played him?
Yeah,
Okay.
but Cab, I think, came to the set and make sure he was doing it correct, because Cab was very particular. And Larry was not a dancer until Cab gave him some steps, you see. But I would, if there's any producers out there listening, I would play Cab in a heartbeat.
Do you realize how much of a sell that would be in terms of a Broadway show?
Oh, yeah.
And you just call it Calloway.
Oh, that's all you have to do. Or call it Cab.
Yeah.
What more? The hidey ho man, baby. Any day, so many times you can say hidey ho, Cab, something. But I would do that. That's the one show that I could say now in my life that I really would want to do as an actor. Right now, I go back to directing and choreographing, and I'm looking forward to that. I start that after I finish this in September.
You speak very fondly of the 3,000 Jerusalem celebration that you will be a very big part of.
Well, we hope so. We're going to hopefully mount this show in September, which right now it's called, the working title is Soulful Celebration, which is the Handel's Messiah, which was done by Mervyn Warren of Take Six as an album. And with Stevie Wonder, Gladys Knight, Tremaine Hawkins, great people. It was a wonderful album. And so they've asked me to direct and choreograph a theatrical version of it. We can't afford all those divas, all those stars, but we'll have some, and a choir of 10 and 8 dancers, singers. So it's very exciting. The music is spectacular, you know, and I'm looking forward to doing it.
Will this be a television medium, or will this
Well,
be a
they
stage
said it was going to
medium?
tour for 2 years,
Okay.
and then possibly a television special. And it'll be my tribute to Albinelli. That'll be the kind of choreography, it'll be like Revelations. And since he was a very motivating force, without him, I would not have wanted to be a choreographer after seeing company. And of course, working with Judith Jamison and Sophisticated Ladies. I owe him a great deal, having met him, and he was so supportive of my choreography and what I was doing. And what more can you say than Alvin?
You are not Creole. You've been laying with dirt. You are not Creole. And so I'm telling you, you have no family. Now go.
You know, when I saw you do the portrayal of Jelly Roll and the torturous greeting that he receives, say, in New York City, and the way he can move really in any social circle in New Orleans, and to a certain extent in Chicago.
Yes, he was very
I
nice.
couldn't help but think about the black musician and how when he didn't, or she didn't get their just due, they went to Europe and they were elevated to great heights.
Oh, sure, but that's still even to this day. But I think the problem that Jelly had was that all the musicians, and I knew Duke, and I knew Louis, and I knew Cab, and I knew Lionel Hampton, I know all these, they were very nurturing to each other. I mean, you see they've done albums. Louis and Duke, I have a Louis and Duke album. Ella Fitzgerald, these people. But Jelly, because of his own egomania, felt that they should be coming to him. And they came to each other. They gravitated to each other. And the fact that he distanced himself, that kills creativity, because we're all learning. We're all a work in progress. There are a lot of great musicians that didn't get their due. It did not. And it's good that he is getting his, because he did create a style, you know, and he was a fine musician. So it's good that this show is showing that too. The joy in the man, very important. It was very important to do this play for me, to show. My mother loved that. She said, "You seem like you're having such a wonderful time in the first act before you turn." I said, "But I am. I'm showing there had to be joy in the man. He wasn't all evil, you know." Especially when you're looking at Xavier. I mean, how could you not have joy? He's so wonderful, Xavier.
Tell me about, real quickly though, tell me about your mom.
Oh, my mother's flawless. She's 77, and she looks great. And I just spoke to her this morning. She called me to find out how opening went, and she tells me to behave myself. I said, "Well, I have to do an interview." "Okay, watch your mouth." That's just 2 things she says. Watch your mouth, lock your door, take your vitamins. I don't understand how they connect, but it's mothers. And I call my mother up. She has a room with all our stuff in it with candles. Like Greg and I are dead. I said, "Mother's like a shrine in there. She could stop them candles a minute." But she has all our awards. We send it all to her. And it's true. If I didn't, I don't know what I'm going to do without her. I mean, I don't. She's 77, and it's
That's
scary.
still pretty young by today's standards, though.
And she looks like she's 50, because she had remarried, and she lives in Vegas, and it's great weather for her. She looks like she's 50. She looks spectacular. She's spectacular. She's the great woman of my life. She held the family together during hard times by holding down 3 jobs. My father trying to get into the recording industry as a drummer. Greg and I working on the weekends, driving up to the Catskill Mountains, coming back, doing laundry, cooking. Drove cross country 2,700 miles to Vegas all alone with her 2 kids. She's a genius. She's the genius of our family.
So is it true behind every great entertainer is a phenomenal mom?
Oh, well, I don't know about that, but certainly behind me and my brother and my father, without her, we'd have not been able to do this. Not. Because my daughter now, I take her to dance class. I was taking her to dance. That stuff is hard to do when you don't feel like getting up.
We hope you enjoyed meeting two greats of the musical theater, Maurice Hines and Luther Henderson, as they paid tribute to one of the great jazz artists of all time, Jelly Roll Morton. Their legacies will be with us for decades to come. Until next time, remember, art was meant to be appreciated, so you be a part of it.